welcome to the East County Sports Report. I'm Ramon Scott, and I'm joined by EastCountySports.com's Dave Dickens. Dave, we got another East County Super Bowl on tap this week. The undefeated Granite Hills Eagles are going to take on the Steele Canyon Cougars at Valley Stadium, and several other good contests as we got rid of all those byes and we're ready for another week of football action this Friday night.
That's right, and if I was telling you I wasn't looking forward to that one, being a former Eagle myself, I would be lying to you. Not only that, but I've thoroughly enjoyed watching. Last year was the first year that I watched Steele and Granite go at it, and I'll tell you what, those are two of the best games that I ever saw in my lifetime of watching prep football. I mean, those 2-pointers and then the phenomenal grab by Burton in the end zone. I still don't know how he held on to that ball with the coverage that he had on him. And then the other one, of course, where some people scratch their head and some people just go with it. And I've even forgotten it myself, but I wondered at the time why we're going for 2. But that's history. And don't worry, Coach. I've forgotten all about it. It was a 24-hour rule at that time. But yeah, these two squads are definitely really fun to watch. You know, the kids, they both know each other, a lot of them, and I think it'll be a really fun, close game as well, even though they've gone into a more difficult task in league play. But I think it's going to be a fight to the end.
Well, 2 of the top 4 teams in the East County, let's be honest right now. The 12th ranked Steele Canyon Cougars, the 15th ranked Granite Hills Eagles. The Cougars lead this series 11-4, but last year those games were so incredible, and I don't know how you can characterize the emotion after Will Burton caught that pass in that first game, and then the incredible game you talked about, 28-27. You talked about it several times that, you know, it was the Cougars that went on to win the state title, and the Eagles can say maybe we were just 1 point away from having that same type of run because the teams are such evenly matched. It's the first time that these teams have been in the same league since 2013 when the Eagles were back up here. So I think it's a good way for the Eagles to get their feet wet and get back in the Hills League, and they're going to have their hands full even though they're at home with the red-hot Cougars who are 4-1.
I think they are, and you know, the other good thing is I know that Coach Cobbs and Scott Longerbone, coach of Steele Canyon, they've become really good friends over the years too. So it's definitely a friendly little rivalry, I guess, if you will. But there's just so many talented players on both sides of the ball for both of them. I think really what it's going to come down to, though, I think it's going to be a Granite Hills defense against the Steele Canyon offense. No offense to the defense on the other side or the offense on the other side, but I think that's how it's going to play out. And it'll probably be I'm thinking a low-scoring affair this time out. But I think also there's a lot of people out there in computer rankings as well that underrate the Eagles just because of some of the wins that they do have. Maybe the teams aren't ranked as high as some of the ones that Steele has played. But I think that they are definitely pretty close to evenly matched.
Sure, and it's for the Eagles to go out and win a game such as this where a team is higher than them. There's no doubt that of all the teams ahead of the Eagles, according to the computers, they have the easiest schedule of all of them. So prove it this week, Eagles. You've already proven it to us how great you are with your great start. This is going to be a great game. You talk about the defense last week. Some kind of new names kind of stood out, but these guys have been doing it all year. Neil Creed and Bryce Christian recovered fumbles. Jacob Kruger had an interception for the Eagles, joining Ethan Bishop as a top interceptor in the East County. Ethan Raymond rushed for a touchdown. Justin McElligott kicked a field goal, and Jacob Setterberg led the team in catches. Meanwhile, the Cougars beat Mira Mesa again. This time was a 52-35 count after the Cougars were getting the attention of the media. The power rankings proved to be correct when they went up and beat the Marauders. Kenneth Watson and quarterback Nathan Barnett combined for 500 yards of total offense. Watson had all those numbers, including an 80-yarder at the end of the game. Coach Longerbone actually said in your post-game interview that him and his staff may have rushed the reserves in a little quickly, and they had to bring the starters back out, and Watson had that 80-yard run. So the Cougars and Nathan Barnett are going to be in it as well.
Yeah, Coach Longerbone was, in our conversation, he was really happy with Watson and the way he ran with the rock. He said it was probably one of his better performances that he's seen since he's been coaching him. Even going back to last year and the state championship, including the state championship game, he said that he was just on fire, and he said he just got better as each carry. He got better each time, and wasn't ever fatigued. So I mean, the more times he got hit or attempted to be tackled, he just never ran out of gas. And I think that's going to be one of the key components too. And if he gets Neely back there as well, boy, he better look out.
Yeah, and that 80-yard run put him well over 200 yards for the night, 220, 30 yards rushing on that night. So the Steele Canyon offense is clicking. I think the Eagles got their hands full. I've got Steele Canyon winning this one by a touchdown.
Yeah, I definitely, even though I would like to see my Eagles definitely prove the naysayers that they're ranked a little too high. I think that they'll definitely make it a game. I'm going to say, though, that unfortunately Steele Canyon by 3. And I do want to add, too, something that Coach Longerbone, and I like hearing this from a coach, and I think it's good for the kids, the parents, the game. Something that he mentioned last week was after every opponent that he plays, he says, I set myself up with all of these games, especially the non-league games. I set them up with coaches that I know are going to challenge my program. And he said at the end of the game, they're all class acts. And he has nothing negative to say about any of these teams he plays. And the same thing with the league plays. I mean, he'll talk about, oh, I love Kellen's club over there and the way that they conduct themselves. So I think he's a football connoisseur, if you will.
Yeah, he said he loves to coach against great coaches, and he confirmed publicly with you that he's locked up Rick Jackson and Madison for week 2 next week. So there's already a good top 10 game to look forward to next season. Well, the Mira Mesa Marauders are going to come here to Valley Stadium to take on the 15th ranked Christian Patriots. And we had in the studio this week Owen Easley, the quarterback, Alex Gonzalez, the slot back of the Patriots. The Patriots have never reached this high in the CIF power rankings. They're currently 9th in the power rankings. I mentioned 15th. I'm telling you about the media poll. But in the power rankings, the Patriots are even higher right now. And it's homecoming this week at Valley Stadium, the home field of the Patriots. So just want to mention, though, more about this matchup. This will be the first meeting ever between the Patriots and the Marauders. The Patriots are expected to win the Eastern League, but they've got these teams, Mira Mesa with Noah Tumblin, University City and their talented offense, and also Morris, which has Shamar Martin, one of the best running backs in the county. So it's a tough league schedule for the Patriots. They are expected to win it. Get there early this week. Alex Gonzalez, who we had here, ran a 96-yard kickoff back for the Patriots last week. So they're clicking on all cylinders. I've got the Patriots beating Mira Mesa by 2 scores.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that one, that Christian is just on fire. And, they really don't have the numbers as far as class size. But they do have so many seniors, as Alex talked to us about. That, and I think that is key also, is when you have that many senior classmen that are actually playing on the team, I think that is a huge advantage over a team that doesn't have somebody that's been in the system as long. With that being said, and with seeing what Steele Canyon did with Mira Mesa last week and what they did with Santa Fe Christian, I definitely think Christian has this one in the bag by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, you want to bring up a game I think is just a little more competitive than some of the other games this week, so let's give it a little bit more profile. That's Mount Miguel at Santana. Santana comes in 4-2. The Matadors 1-4, but one of these teams is going to have an opportunity to start 1-0 in the Grossmont Valley League. Santana quarterback Sean Iverson, we can't say enough of the job that he's done taking over. He said he's the 3rd quarterback for the Sultans. Listen to the numbers, interestingly. 20 of 27 for 6 touchdowns and no interceptions. And Brooks Mutaw now has almost 300 yards rushing this season. Defensively, Cameron Wilson leads the Sultans with 4.5 of Santana's 12 sacks. And I want to mention our guy, Colton Snipes. Well, what did he do last week? He kicked a pair of field goals, among other things.
Yeah, I think one of the keys to that team all the time is, and Coach Estes would agree with this as well, is Mr. Colton Snipes. From a standpoint of just being a vocal leader on the sidelines, and if they're down, he tends to pat everybody on the back and get everybody fired up and get them on point. Not to mention, like you said, he'll kick a couple of field goals. He'll make some great punts, pin him back at the 1 or the 2, make less work for the defense, which he is very courteous in that aspect, which he has mentioned. That's one of the things that he enjoys most, is that key punt. And people don't look at special teams as a big focal point in the game, but I think that he takes it seriously. Not to mention, he makes quite a few tackles. I mean, whatever they need to do, he is a versatile athlete.
He's a Renaissance man. I just dropped his name because he's so popular. Makes me look good. The Sultans are still in great position in the Division 4 playoff picture, despite some of their woes, those losses, but they're still looking very sharp in the Division 4 playoff picture. Mount Miguel, they were coming off a bye last week, but the Matadors' J.D. Laverdier is averaging nearly 300 yards a game passing. Senior Eric Graham leads the receiving corps with 4 touchdowns. The Matadors lead this series 29-13-1, winning the last 7, and they've mostly been one-sided. However, these teams have split the last 18 meetings. That's since 1988, so Santana definitely has had some recent success against Mount Miguel. A win like this would go a long way in helping the Matadors try to get back into some type of playoff picture. They're going to need that. I've got the Sultans by a couple of scores.
Yeah, I think that would be real key, and as we all know, the bye, they can be either really do great things for you, or at times it can really get you off to a sluggish start. Hopefully that's not the case with the Matadors, and being who they have at the helms, I definitely don't think that Troy is going to have any issues there. And I think that probably even as part of their bye, he probably had to do some extra work anyway at some point in time. And I think it will be pivotal that Mount McGill try and win this one to have a good start off in league and possibly have some good playoff implications, and maybe even a home game. So they have the quarterback to do it. JD, I've watched him. He's a true competitor. He's one of the few quarterbacks that doesn't automatically run out of the pocket. He stands strong and firm, and he's able to stay upright, and he's able to get that ball out of his hand, look for a receiver, instead of taking off like a lot of these quarterbacks do. And I think that's key for Mount McGill. Not to mention they can establish a running game. I think that'll be key against the Sultans. But the way Iverson's been playing, Forrester has been playing, Snipes on the other side of the ball, I'm going to have to go with the Sultans by 7.
Another team that's going to get a chance to start 1-0 this week is the winner of the Valhalla at Grossmont game, the Grossmont Valley League matchup. Well, Dave, Grossmont Foothillers are expected to win this game, but they really need to win this game. They just need to build their confidence, and it's coming at an unfortunate time for Valhalla right now. The Grossmont is going to be hungry for a victory. Over the last 26 meetings, the series is tied 13-13, but won't be that close this Friday.
Yeah, I was able to at least talk to Zach Ferris last week after that. Another heartbreaking loss. Was trying to get a hold of Mr. Odom to, from what I understand later, he said, I was just too late. Hopefully we're actually going to have him on the show next week. But he said they've fallen into a rut. That 2 weeks ago they played a fantastic team. And they did lose to a pretty talented team this last week. I think that getting into league now, though, it doesn't get any easier for them. But at least with Valhalla, I'm not going to say it's going to be a cinch, because anybody's game every week. But I think they have the offense to do it. despite the injuries, and also the defense. And hopefully they got a couple more guys healed up to be ready for Valhalla. But I think that's going to be one of the keys is Odom being able to have the confidence, Zach Ferris being one of them, Thomas Magnum being another, and if they can get that running game and get Tucker on the field.
Yeah, and Ferris was injured in that big loss to Rancho Verde when they came in, so they're kind of healing, and this is a good opponent for them to face. I want to mention one interesting tidbit I found researching this game was back in 2003, these teams played twice. Grossmont won at Valhalla 21-7, but the Norsemen won the return favor at Grossmont 27-3 in a playoff game. So it's kind of interesting that those teams made the playoffs that year. I think Valhalla's definitely played some tough teams, and they'll get another measuring stick here. The number 4 Helix Highlanders are going to travel to Lakeside to take on the El Capitan Vaqueros in the Grossmont Hills League opener for both teams. The Vaqueros are still riding tall in the saddle after winning the Tony Berner Memorial Game last Friday night, Dave. Other than the result for the Wolf Pack, I can't imagine that the night couldn't have gone any better for the Vaqueros and for most of the fans out there. A wonderful night, a great football game, and the Vaqueros got the upset victory.
Yeah, I will tell you, as Coach Berner echoed that before I even said it myself, it definitely lived up to its billing. Game of the week, we picked it as a game of the week, and with that rivalry with the Cup, Coach Berner said himself, you know, the whole time he was going, come on, man, and he said, I was talking to Tony too for having us come up with a couple of plays to make sure that we got on that Cup first, and he goes, you know, if it would have gone the other way, it would have been fine, but yeah, deep down, I wanted to be the first one on that, and his team definitely delivered. And you know, on the other side, I talked to Coach Casey Ash, and he didn't have a whole lot to say. He said El Cap, basically, they played their tails off. They earned it from every side of the ball. However, he did agree, and so did Coach Berner. There was entirely way too much laundry in that fourth quarter, towards the end of the fourth quarter, from false starts and that's not so much such an issue, but it was the late hits out of bounds, and you know, it's just you got young men, a rivalry game, and you got so much emotion in this game, and at times, especially in the fourth quarter when it wasn't necessary, I think, and that's what Coach Casey was referring to, is if they would have kept a little more composure, there could have been a different result. But on the other side, Berner said the same thing. He said, you know, we got lucky that we didn't get some penalties that took us out of the game. But overall, before that fourth quarter, just a spectacular game. I mean, you saw the highlights, the Wick throwing some real nice passes into the corner of the end zone. Wicks dived into the end zone to take the win. Some field goals, a field goal that was missed by West Hills early. Jordan Young making some great runs. I mean, he scored 2 touchdowns himself. And the crowds were phenomenal. You thought it was a playoff game. It really did seem like it was a CIF playoff game, and they were going back and forth. I definitely, a lot of emotion. Coach Berner had a lot of emotion. I think he was holding them back as much as he could, but it's definitely understandable. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that Coach Berner and his group, I think that they're going to give Helix a battle this week.
Well, let's hope so. Donnie Green rushed for 175 yards in that game, and you mentioned Hauser. He had the leaping touchdown. He also ran for another score in that game. So everyone is saying that Helix is back in the open division setting. I mean, they've moved into the top 4, but I'm not so sure. I know everyone's talking about it right now. Helix is back. Helix is back in the open division setting. Their power rating could still take a hit because of the strength of schedule. It still is going to depend on some of the jostling from those top teams, especially because those two leagues, the Avocado and the Western League, are so difficult and upsets could happen. So I'm not so sure yet, and I don't think anybody is. I think we might be jumping to conclusions there. But Helix is healthy. They'll be ready for this game for sure, given the fact that they want to get back on a roll and win the rest of their games like they've planned. Elion Noah runs behind Chris Alvarado in the defense. Now, up-and-coming star Jeremiah Fletcher, the junior. So the Highlanders are in position. They've owned this series really 38-12-1, including 3 straight, all of them by 31 points or more. So
I'll tell you, this is a good year of any year that I think El Cap has a chance, because the biggest thing coming away from that game was they're healthy. They didn't lose anybody key, and I think the key thing for El Cap to overcome Helix, if they can create the turnovers like they did in this last game against West Hills, which, boy, did they have some nice ones. But I think if they can create pressure and forcing them to throw, Helix to throw when they don't want to throw, I think that's going to be key on the pass rush. And if they can stack the box and control Noah, I think that's going to be huge. They win the turnover battle. That is the way that El Capitan can beat Helix.
Playoff rematch as Chula Vista Spartans go down to take on the Monta Vista Monarchs. So this is the first regular season meeting ever. The two teams have met in the playoffs twice, including that last year, that thriller. Chula Vista came up and stunned Monta Vista. They eventually lost in overtime. Monta Vista won the game 29-28 and went on their playoff run of their own all the way to the state playoffs. And the other meeting was back in 1992. Monta Vista won that one 21-14 in the quarterfinals that year. The Spartans were really unbelievable in that game last year. They kind of did like what the Patriots did to Jamon McClendon. They bottled him up because Jamon still got a nice game, but he did not get as much as maybe we anticipated against Chula Vista. Last week, Jamon came off the bench, if you will, to rush for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. He had to sit the first couple of series, I'm told, so I don't expect this game to be that close this year. I've got Monta Vista winning this one by at least 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that. I mean, they have too much more than Chula Vista has. And then let's even look at, I always like to look at the other teams that they played in the Grossmont Conference, which was West Hills. That was definitely a tight game. And then they thought they lost Jordan possibly for the season, which he definitely didn't lose a step. But the way that they played, the defense, I think if Monta Vista's defense, which they are capable of, plays anything like West Hills defense played, I definitely see Monta Vista taking this one by at least a couple of touchdowns.
Sure. The West Hills Wolfpack are going to travel down to Madison Avenue to take on the El Cajon Valley Braves. It's the 24th meeting, believe it or not, between the Wolfpack and the Braves. And the Wolfpack are still okay after that loss against the Vaqueros. And Jordan Young, you mentioned, he was certainly able to perform well, recovering from that wrist injury. He did more running, 200 yards and a pair of touchdowns. And as you mentioned, this has been a one-sided series. The Pack leads 20-1. They won 7 straight over the Braves. ECV won last against the Wolfpack back in 2005. We know how great that Braves team was. The computers have the Wolfpack expected to win this one by 6 or 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think that the woes continue with El Cajon, but the thing that I get every week from Coach Osborne is that, you know what, they are definitely trying to establish a culture and not worry about the scoreboard so much as worrying about learning the fundamentals of football and learning how to, I don't want to say lose with class, but just learning how to move on with it and just enjoy the game of football. And I think part of that has been senior Brandon Robinson. I wanted to also add something real interesting. It's a little off topic, but talked to Coach Osborne, and the varsity team was at Lexington Elementary this week to read to the kids and play together with the kids out in the field, kind of a little field day, part of a literacy program, and for a team like El Cajon Valley, that's something great to get out in the community, and that I think that right there shows a change in the culture.
And I'll mention also several East County players were nominated for possibility to play in the Alex Thanos All-Star Game, including Cajon Valley's Atlanta City. So there's that as well. The Hilltop Lancers are going to make the trek 50 plus miles out to Pine Valley to take on the Mountain Empire Red Hawks. Dave, when Hilltop first opened back in 1959, the Lancers' second game ever was out in the Imperial Valley. They played Central High School. They lost 27-0, and 2 years later they lost out there again 28-0. But since then, Hilltop has never traveled this far east until last season, when they came out and played that Southwest team and lost 62-18. So the first time these teams have ever met.
Yeah, and I think with how Hilltop has played some of the teams in the East County too, of course Granite Hills being one of them, it was a pretty close game, and I think that they played pretty well. I think that going down to the desert, though, I think part of that is going to be play a pivotal. They're going to definitely have their hands full going out that way. And not to mention, Mountain Empire's coming off of a bye, so they could be quite healthy, ready to go. They haven't lost anybody, which with the numbers that they have, that would be detrimental if they had. But again, they're going to have big Cameron Will out there, huge linebacker, leading his defensive crew, and two-way player Dallas Prince playing that safety position, making a couple of hits, maybe a couple of picks, and then got the soft hands catch a couple of touchdowns on the offensive side as well. And then quarterback Gabe Hydorn has been money this season, putting up a lot better numbers this year passing, as well as his legs. Definitely a dual threat quarterback. I think after seeing Hilltop play already, and not to mention they played against Christian. I know it was early, it was preseason and such, but I think that even that being said, I think that it's going to be Mountain Empire winning another one by 2 touchdowns.
Great. Oh, that is great. I thought maybe that the travel would be the equalizer in this game and help Mountain Empire, because I have Hilltop winning this one by a touchdown. All right, well, that's going to do it for us on the East County Sports Report. For Dave Dickens, I'm Ramon Scott. Thank you for joining us.